Dun, dun, dun. Everyone's just got to get used to me pulling in one direction because that's all I can do. So, you know.
At least we're consistent.
We're not fancy here. Hi! How's everybody doing today? Welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Dear Becky and Lizzy edition.
The continuing adventures of Liz and Rebecca.
With questions from you guys.
Oh, look, didn't move my keys. Yes, the Dear Becky and Lizzy edition is like Dear Abby, but for knitting and crocheting mostly. So I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in sunny and probably getting a little chilly today, Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the Minion there, and it's not getting as chilly as she thinks it is.
I didn't say super chilly. I didn't say cold, did I?
It's only going to be like 3 degrees cooler than yesterday.
I said chilly because that counts as chilly compared to yesterday. It does, right? I actually brought my winter coat in just in case.
Tomorrow is the day with no high. Like when we wake up, that's our high. And then, it kind of just hangs. It's
tomorrow's the rainy, nasty day.
Yeah.
Because Brian wanted to go hiking and he's shakes fist at sky over the weather. Yeah. So anyway, I brought my winter coat just in case because I didn't know it was going to be that much milder. I just knew it wasn't going to be as warm. That's all I keep track of. I keep track of generalities when it comes to the weather.
I try and tell her this, and
What did you tell me?
That it was going to be warm all week until Friday, and then on Friday it was going to be just nasty.
You know what I heard? Is Tuesday and Wednesday it's going to be warm, and I heard Friday's going to be crappy, and I figured this would be in the middle. That's what I remember. So,
She was doing other things and multitasking some days.
Just a little bit. It's tough sometimes. I've been dealing with I'm late coming in because I bought new bras online. Thank you very much. Because I usually go, I know this is a family-friendly show, but I don't think this is a non-family subject, personally. I usually go get fitted and measured, and ain't nobody doing that during the pandemic. I mean, well, shouldn't say that. There are lots of people doing that. They probably shouldn't, but they are. So I'm trying to be safe, and so I stuck it out as long as I could, but they don't fit. You've probably noticed me readjusting a lot and trying not to on camera. So, we all can commiserate with that. I know no matter what size the girls are for you, you understand when things don't fit right. So
it's a problem.
It's a major issue, big or small. If things don't fit right, ain't nobody happy. So, or comfortable. All right. So Liz's like, I'm just gonna ignore this and work on my thing. What are you working on?
I'm starting the third
redirection.
The third
you just love this so much.
Well, I want a hat, the doily hat thing. So
is your hat were you saying last night your hat might be huge?
Well, that's why I'm doing 2 different swatches.
This is like Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
One was too big,
but just right in terms of what she gets. So one is huge.
This one is my shawl.
And she's doing that on purpose. It's not like it's too big.
It's awesome.
But for Goldilocks, it's too big.
I got to the outside of the middle and we measured it at like 21 inches.
It looks beautiful. Yeah, we spread it out. Like we can hold it up and it'll be like saggy in places. We spread it out on the floor and it was amazing. And just in case anyone's like, ooh, I want that pattern. It's not like a pattern you can find on Ravelry, I don't think, right? Or if it is, it's in French and have fun. If you speak French, especially our Canadian viewers, you will have fun.
It's in a discontinued magazine.
Okay. I knew there were other issues than just the French thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
discontinued French magazine.
Yeah, you can go and try and find it, but like,
is it actually listed on Ravelry as a thing, but it says discontinued, or is it? Okay.
Like,
then I will attempt to get from Liz
several magazines, but
I'll put the Ravelry link in case someone wants to do the detective work and find it. But no, we are telling you right now, it is not go on Ravelry and I got it. Okay. Not easy peasy.
No, in fact, I tried finding it the other day on Pinterest, and I had to actually go find my saved pin of it because I couldn't find it. So it was on, like, I told everybody I had to go through 2 Russian websites and find out that I lost 500 followers on Facebook. And
was that trying to get you to click on something? Was that the reason that like popped up?
It could have been. I was
either she got hacked or they were trying to hack her.
I just wanted this,
and she got it, so it's worth it.
I got it,
But at what cost?
Like the last time, I think I tried pushing on the, going to different pages, and I couldn't get to just this. And all the descriptions are in French.
And we've used some Google Translate for good results. It's not the best, but it helps. So
yeah, it's pretty much self-explanatory.
My high school French could kind of understand it.
Yeah. So I was
this chart is not on the Ravelry listing. No. She had to hunt for it. Okay, I know I'm interrupting.
No, you're fine.
Clear.
It is. It's a rabbit hunt if you're looking for just the chart, and if you can do off just a chart,
you're fine.
You're fine.
And maybe a magnifying glass.
Yeah. Readers 2.0. I was at 1.75, but 2.0 I can see it really well. Mm-hmm. It's tiny, and it's thistles. I love thistles. So I have my big one that's going to be a shawl, and then I was like, I'd seen a doily hat somewhere where they crocheted out a doily.
And then kind
of kept it, made it go in, and it looks more like a tam or a beret, whatever. And then they kind of brought it in, and the inside of the thistle doily is what I want to do. But playing with sizes, what size do I want for the back center of my head? So I started one on a size 9 steel crochet hook.
Which I'm boggled by, because that's super teeny tiny. But if it means if you really are determined, it exists in your world.
Once again, reading glasses 2.0. Ooh. What?
Sorry, I had something that stuck in my head and I had to check it. Our Bryson, not the most recent for all of you waiting for Prim Big Sully's, but the one before that.
Yeah.
Has been loaded onto the delivery vehicle. We had a Bryson order, which is like 85% of our notions, all our fun things, come from Bryson out in Oregon, and they're wonderful. And usually it takes about a week. And we had a package we ordered on like the 12th that, weather stalled everything, and we're just hoping that it was somewhere, and we're maybe getting it today. Yay! Doesn't mean the Big Sullies are coming in today. We have at least one. Shout out to Marin. She is owed one when it comes in. That should come on a more regular timetable, and we should be shipping it out next week. Okay, sorry.
So I'm worried that one might be too little. So
okay, so you were testing that to make it into a doily hat.
Yes.
Okay.
So
this one, too big, too small, just right.
Maybe. We're not sure. So this one's sport weight on a D hook.
On our lovely
this
indigo.
One's lace weight on a steel 9, but it was the bigger of the 2 steel 9s that I had.
Because that's the thing.
And then sport weight on a 10 or a J.
Yeah. I have one more thing to say to follow up from yesterday before we go to our one Dear Becky and Lizzy question. And that is, we forgot a color yesterday.
We did, and I should have.
Which is weird because it's red. How did Liz miss the red? She did the setup. I totally blame her, but I don't blame her.
I don't know how I missed it though.
But the electrolyte that we showed up yesterday, that is one of our products of the week that you can save 15% off online with the code product of the week with spaces at checkout. Or if you come up to the shop and ask for these, appointment to come in, or outside, if you don't have an appointment, we will give you 15% off. This is the sparkly, see, ready?
Sparkles red.
And the Lurex that's in here is a ribbon of red sparkle. There is one called Ruby. I think Ruby, right? Ruby, that is red. And it is online, but we found it afterwards when I was taking photos. So we wanted to let you know we have all those lovely jewel tones. I want to say, okay, it's, yeah, the colors don't show up. They look really dark because they're far away, but it's right where she's pointing. We have some lovely jewel tones that.
I say red somewhere.
Yeah, it's hiding because I took these out for photos. 15% off this week with that code until next Wednesday. So wanted to make sure we mentioned that. And also, if you don't normally watch the VSCs, we talked about projects we're working on, but we may still talk about them some today. If there's time at the end, I have projects I can pull out and go, hello, look at the progress I made since yesterday. But if we don't have time for that, you'll have to watch the end of yesterday's episode to find out what I'm working on currently.
His new projects. What?
Yeah, and I might start more. I started 2 cowls that will hopefully get done quickly so I can start other things too. I need to keep working on ongoing projects, but you know,
Sweater.
I don't go sweaters, just working on things in general. Okay. At the end of this, remind me, I want to talk about my goals and maybe your goals. You may or may not have goals for the weekend.
For the weekend?
Okay. But not right now. Let's turn to the Dear Becky and Lizzy stuff first. While Liz is getting, oh, she already has it up. Never mind.
Go ahead.
I was saying while she's getting that out, we're working on that. Special like PDA, not PDA, no. PSA, public service announcement. PDA is public display of affection. We're not doing that.
It's a pandemic, people.
Yeah, on top of everything, that's just wrong in a pandemic. PSA, public service announcement. Yes, you still need appointments to come into the shop. I mean, I could just end it there. But we've had warmer weather means people floating around outside, and that's great, fresh air, woo. But we're not out of the woods yet on the pandemic. Yes, we have vaccines, but that doesn't mean it's a free pass to come into the shop.
And the biggest deal is Rebecca doesn't have hers.
Yeah, it's not just about you.
Get hers.
No offense.
You know,
we love our customers.
Everybody's like, well, we have our shot.
But I have my shot. That should be fine. No. I don't know when I'm going to. Liz is on her journey to almost full completion of her shot cycle. Yay. I don't know when I'm going to be available because we were only getting 200 doses a week in our county. We are a small county, but we're not that small. Now we're up to maybe 700 doses a week, which is still barely covering the upper echelons of our society in this county.
Bernie said they've only done like 11%.
Really? Yeah, which, you know, it's kind of on par with the whole country. The whole country's maybe closer to 20%. Yeah. But, and we have a lot of older people living in this county, which means it's going to take longer to get to someone of my level. And I think some of the only 11% is because we're doing that well in some ways because people are going and getting them outside of the county. So that long story long is it's going to be a while before I am protected. So I'm going to keep in place the upper levels of protection for everybody, not just because of me, but because of everybody. Well, there are people who don't want to get the vaccine, and they're like, and on top of that, again, this is my little soapbox. You getting the vaccine does not mean that you have an invisible force field around you that protects you and everybody else. It is an important step in making sure that we all get through this.
It's a layer of Swiss cheese.
It's a layer of Swiss cheese. It could mean, it could mean that if you do come across the virus, you will get an asymptomatic case where you wouldn't have before. Like we don't really know. We know it's very effective, which means it may, bounce off me to stick to you type of thing, rubber and glue, right? It could mean that the virus will not penetrate in and make you sick. It could mean that you can still transmit it or still be shedding it and not know because you have an asymptomatic case where you would have had something very serious before. And that is fabulous for you, definitely. But we still can be moving it around even if we have the vaccine. So there are a lot of layers of Swiss cheese to keep the vaccine from moving around. And so long story long, you still need an appointment to come in. You're still going to have to wear masks inside the shop for a while. We're still going to wig out if you touch stuff that we have not said you can touch. We may not wig out to your face, but we will be wigging out inside and putting it in quarantine. So
we are firm believers in as many layers of Swiss cheese as possible.
And for people who haven't heard that analogy before, like think about a layer of Swiss cheese as the virus has to go through a hole, right? In the Swiss cheese. If you have multiple layers of Swiss cheese and the holes are in different places on each layer of Swiss cheese, then the virus, you know, again, this is an analogy. It's not real life, people. We're not talking about the virus going wee, but in theory, in symbolic theory, it's got to go wee back and forth and up and down and back to get through to you. If you have lots of layers, like the hand washing, the social distancing, the masks, the vaccine, you know, get what you can.
Ventilation,
which doesn't exist here.
We don't. Yeah, like there's some layers we can stick in and some layers we can't. And we're going to try and stick in as many layers as we
which is
can.
why outside is better than inside, because breezes and everything. But outside isn't like it. It's not like we're outside, so we could be up close to each other without masks. No. Outside, still masks. If you don't have your mask when you walk up to the shop, we'll just stay a little further away from you. You know, all that kind of stuff. And yes, I'm not like, oh no, vaccines, nah. Get your vaccine. I'm going to get my vaccine as soon as I possibly can. Even once I get my vaccine, we may still have these requirements in the shop. My standards, I don't have like a red line, but my standards for when the shop is going to become more of a free-floating space has a lot to do with not just numbers going down, which they are in some places, infection rates seem to be going down, but we still have people getting infected. It's going to be no new cases or very few new cases for a pretty long period of time. And we're not there yet. So especially our county. Our county is small, but if you look at numbers compared to other counties, things are positivity
we're still
rates,
higher
stuff like that.
than the bigger counties around us.
Yeah. So being small and rural and spaced out does not necessarily mean things are in better shape here. So I've ranted for long enough. What's the question? But just keep that in mind if you come to the shop. This is all the stuff that's going on in my head when you're around here. And if I say it now, maybe someone will watch it and keep it in mind when they come to the shop. We still love everybody, but this is the internal monologue. So, okay.
Are you ready?
Maybe.
Okay.
I would like to switch topics though, because this is probably boring some people out in TV land.
This is we've touched on this subject before,
yeah, but let's tell the stories again.
Let's tell the stories again. This
person hasn't heard them. And if you have heard what we're about to be asked about, settle back and see how much you can say along with us.
Yeah, because the stories haven't changed. Well, they might have.
History hasn't changed.
They got longer.
Maybe we remember different details. Who knows? I don't know.
Dear Becky and Lizzy, did you become friends through the shop, or were you friends before? In other words, how did you meet? Sincerely, Florida Fiber Friend.
Florida Fiber Friend. So thank you for that lovely question, Florida Fiber Friend. And that is more of a fun gossipy thing than a, well, here's what we think about yarn. But honestly, it's yarn that brought us together. So
yeah,
you know, where do you want to start? Did we know each other before the shop opened? No.
Well, 2 weeks, but you were at the shop setting up, and
okay, Liz
the
has
shop
a different
brought us
definition.
together.
Liz has different ways of defining this. I wanted the shop to be open in like June of 2017. I wanted to jump ship from my teaching job, which I loved, but I was burnt out. And like a month later open the shop. And that's laughable right now to think about. Like that was my hope and dream. But the bigger thing that kept me from doing that was the space I was going to move into was still not finished. So yes, technically my doors were not open to the public when we met. So I guess we met before the shop opened.
Barely.
But I was in planning stages and in shop phase when we met. So
she was opening a box of yarn.
I was opening a box of yarn, baby, wasn't I?
Yeah. So I used to only come into town like once every 4 or 5 weeks when I got the dog groomed, and drop her off walk around town.
That was the first thing I heard out of her mouth was, I'm here like once a month.
Once a month.
In town.
In town. Yeah,
Sorry,
it's town.
I digress and get off topic.
Nobody comes in. So when I came into town, I had a circuit. I'd go stop by and see everybody on my circuit, and then I'd go pick the dog up. And I stopped in to see one of the gals I knew who worked at
White Squirrel
Realty.
Which I have a story about, but I'll save that.
And
in the end,
she said, so there's a girl in town setting up a yarn shop. And I was like, a yarn shop? And she was like, you want to meet her? And I'm like, sure. I don't have to be back to the, dog grooming place for a little bit. She walked me over to the shop.
Again, I'm not technically open, but I think my door was open because at this point, the interior space is not fully finished. I did not have electricity. It was the middle of the summer.
Yep.
And I was trying to get airflow into the shop. So my door was open, but I was not open for business.
So yeah, she brought me over, and
I knew Hope because on one of my excursions in the spring, trying to figure out A, where the shop would be, and B, the B was what brought me in to see Hope, where the heck I was going to live. I walked into White Squirrel Realty and said, so I'm here in town investigating opening up a yarn shop, and I want to move here, and I'm looking for a place to live. We're looking for a rental. And Hope helped me with that. And by the way, one of the other guys in the office said, yarn shop? He stuck his head out and said, did I hear that right? My wife is going to shop with you. And yes, she has. Another story. So Hope knew about it because Hope helped me find the rental that I moved into housewise, which led to her saying to Liz, hey, there's going to be a yarn shop in town. Do you want to meet her? And so I see Hope walk up, and I'm like, hey, Hope. And this girl in a big dress walk up, and I'm like, hi. That's interesting. Hi, who are you?
We stood there and talked for like 45 minutes, an hour, and you were opening Yarn Baby, and I was like, ooh.
Didn't even have a system per se. I kind of maybe had a system to put it into at that point, but it was, yeah, she got to see some of the pretties. Shout out to Yarn Baby. She's out in Colorado, and she's got gorgeous yarn. We've said before, we try to have locally dyed yarn if we can on the pretties behind us, or fun stuff like the Lorna's Laces is not local. It's gotten closer to being local because it's Tennessee. And the Fiber Space is coming from the UK now. It used to have more of a US distributor. Now it's mostly from the UK, but it's so gorgeous. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Daydream Dye Works is over this way, and that is local. And Spunky Sheep is behind us. What little we have of hers, we're getting some more in, and she's local. But Yarn Baby is super small batch. If it's not local, we like to support artists who are doing awesome stuff with personal connections. So that's what Yarn Baby was. I had a connection to her through a running friend, because she runs. We both used to run. I don't really run anymore. I bet Yarn Baby still runs more than I do. I don't run and exercise half as much as I used to. Hence, I need to get different bras. So, but that was one of my first, hey, I need some awesome yarn in the shop. I hadn't met Daydream Dye Works yet. So that was my first hand-dyed awesomeness in the shop. And it was still something unique someone could take home from their journey, even if it wasn't technically from North Carolina. So long story long. And it's going to be my phrase all the time.
All day,
every day. But yeah, and so it was like, oh, Liz is this interesting person in a dress and honestly, I mean, I don't think you take offense by this. That was my first memory of you. It makes an impression, and it was and I heard I'm in town once a month and I float around while my dog's getting groomed. And
I'll pop in and
maybe I'll see you sometime. Once a month.
I was like, when do you open? Okay. So because I want that yarn. And
I opened at the very end of July in 2017. And I forget after that. I just know at some point she was around like most days.
I came in with my mother-in-law to buy that yarn. The Saturday right. You were
so
open.
I've like
met my mother-in-law
I don't
twice.
remember meeting her then, but that's probably okay.
Yeah. And Then it was probably a couple weeks before I moved in permanently. Like
by December, we were already November or December,
Yeah.
we were already having the talks of, hey, if you need someone to work for you or help out or just help out, I think was the initial conversation. I was like, hey,
putting away
volunteers put me in a weird place, and
I was putting away yarn and helping customers by like October.
Yeah. I don't remember it happening that fast, but I think back then every day and week felt like a lifetime. So it felt like it took a while, but it didn't take a while.
No.
And right now, like for the past year, time has no meaning, and it's still March. And when it turns March in a couple days, that's going to prove it's always been March.
We figured out with knit night, like we'd always ask to help you close up when knit night started, and you were like, no, I got this.
I got this. I was doing everything on my own because that's what you're supposed to do.
So by like, because we started knit nights in August, late August.
I tried to start knit nights really soon as I could. Yeah. And I remember taking a picture of the first knit night, and you were probably there.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. Like half the people in that first picture of me overexcited and a glass and a half of wine in, and I was tipsy because I was like, whoa, new business. Yeah.
We figured out by like mid-September that it was always better not to ask Rebecca if she wanted us to go bring the sign off the street. We just go get it and bring it in. And, you know, after a couple of weeks of that, it was, okay.
At this point, like what, 3.5 years in, I'm just like, oh yeah, could you go do this? And yeah, there's certain things I still will not relinquish control of. But
computer.
Well, I would, but it would take so much work to get someone else up to speed on it. It's almost not worth it. So.
I spent, like, once I moved in and I was here all the time, I spent a lot of time just watching her put away yarn. Like, it was like, oh, that's how you do it. Finally, it was like, hey, I'm going to put this yarn away. But no, you don't know how to do it. And I'm like, and she's like,
voila.
Oh, maybe you do.
As we're talking, I'm going to scroll back. It's going to take me forever to go back, way back in my Instagram feed and find some of that stuff. Because I post a lot of crap on Instagram. What? So, no, but it was, and even when you first started asking about working, I was like, I still felt weird about it. But I at least had the excuse of let's wait till the new year.
Yeah.
Which was a good reason. Like there were more reasons than I'm just nervous about having an employee. There were like logistically.
We have to make it official.
We have to make it official, and then it's a new tax year, and then it's a new, like it makes more sense. So January of 2018, you started working, and by March, I gotta see if I can get back to the beginning.
You were on vacation.
My battery dies. I took a vacation, and it's like leaving your baby at daycare for the first time. It's
in my hands.
It's like there was a lot of texting and calling and like,
on both sides, because it was like, oh my gosh, Rebecca, what does this do?
We're hanging out at the beach, and I'm like, hang on, I just gotta check totals. That's back when I could check totals on my phone. That app doesn't really work anymore. The way it used to, but I could I could snoop. It was bad.
Well, I'd send you a post-it, but I think there were a couple of times I'm like, she should just be left alone because she's on vacation.
And I was like, I already know because I'm snooping. No, but I would say it was yarn that brought us together. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we have people now who like assume that we're sisters and stuff, and for both good and bad reasons, probably. Of what sisterhood is like, right? And I will occasionally call you by my sister's name by accident, or one of my friends' names or something like that. And we are very different people in many ways, but we're similar in other ways. We get along really well in some ways, and some of that is our love of yarn. Just boil it down to that, right? For any of the ways I think that we are different, we have things that unite us, which is kind of cool. Or, we can finish each other's sentences at this point, which is scary.
We've spent a lot of time together.
That's part of it. We just spent a lot of time together. Like, even family that doesn't get along. I'm not saying we don't get along, but even family that doesn't get along. If you spend a lot of time with each other, you're going to know what's going on, right? So if you talk to me about something, there's a good chance she knows. like friends and family and everybody, because you know when you only have so many people to talk to, and then there are people who you can confide in and actually we get along, they're gonna know everything. You know. So and I think it's really fortuitous that we do get along so well.
And we've joked, like, even when we go home from work for the weekend.
I'm back to the beginning of the pandemic on my Instagram feed, by the way. I'm not further, but yeah.
Well, you think still like
I'm down to 20% on my phone.
I found this.
You'd think we spend all week together, we'd want to spend time apart from each other, but we still, for good or ill, we still harass each other.
And then there's those FaceTime phone calls that it was too long to text.
Why bother?
Both our parts. Like,
you know. Oh my gosh, I need a new phone so bad. My battery's tanking as I just scroll back through Instagram. But no, I mean, and I think we're good foils for each other on things like projects, stuff like that, you know. And people have said how we seem to interact like we have known each other for years, which is awesome. And the rapport, like the whole reason for starting this channel was that people would joke it's the Liz and Rebecca show when they come into the shop. And my joke about sit and stitch, when you could actually, like, when the shop was okay to come hang out in. And yes, people who've come up recently say, I miss when we could just sit and stitch and come sit and hang out. I miss that too. From a nostalgic point and that used to be the whole point of the shop was community. And we would say, you know, if you want more than the Liz and Rebecca show, you should come to a sit and stitch, which we had 3 times. We had the 2 evening times that we still have, and we had a Wednesday morning time. And if you want, you can come. I would say you can come sit and hang out anytime. But if you want more than the Liz and Rebecca show, and we might have stuff to do.
Some days the Liz and Rebecca show was exciting, and some days it wasn't.
It was hilarious. And some days it was really boring.
Yeah.
But we would never turn anyone away from coming in and sitting down and knitting. And you might just get to hear our banter. And we have people who wish there was just a microphone in the shop and they would pay money to just hear us banter. But you probably wouldn't like what you hear because sometimes we're complaining about even people we love. So, but it really was like, it was an open and welcoming space. We miss that too. We miss that horribly. But we're not about to sacrifice health concerns to get back to that place. That's the problem right now. Is we'd love to just let everyone in and hang out, but that gives us the heebie-jeebies right now, and we're not there yet. I'm back to when Chippy was traveling around Canada, so I'm getting there. I'm down to 16%. Anyway, I digress.
Do you need a charger?
I will once I get back here. I'm down to 15%, but I'm trying to do this without running for a charger and plugging my phone in.
I have a brick somewhere.
But we're filming right now, so let's not take up more filming time by doing that.
No, I have a brick right here on my back.
Anyway, as I was saying, oh my gosh, this is total nostalgia. I'm looking way back at like when the shop was dark and crowded over there. Oh, look, it's you with the... Ooh, I got to show people this. It's back in the old shop. It's Liz with the lamb. We had a lamb visitor shop.
We did.
I'm still trying to get back to like the first sit and stitch though. That's still going way back. Anyway, like we are all about community, but the Liz and Rebecca show became a thing. Oh my gosh, this is gonna take the urgency out of this. The Liz and Rebecca show was a thing because we have this rapport that people found entertaining. And so now we get to share it with you all the time. So anytime you want to watch. So we had someone who said they subscribed yesterday because it was enjoyable to listen to us while knitting or something. And yay, there you go. If we're talking about knitting though, I can't crochet and vice versa. So that's my thing.
If she's talking, she can't knit or crochet.
This is back when I was first setting up yarn in the old shop. Look how, like,
that's so sad.
This was our old pretty wall. Like, that's all I had. And look at the pretty wall now. The pretty wall has holes because we're revamping it. But that's sad when there's only that much in
the pretty wall has holes because we're revamping it. But when we walked in and saw the pretty wall for the first time when she opened, there was whiteboard in between yarn.
Look, that's when I opened. Look how much wall space there's still available on there. Oh my gosh, we hadn't gone high yet.
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this was, but there's the ones I'm showing you. Oh, here we go. So here's some of the yarn baby that Liz looked at when she first came into the shop. See, some of that we still have actually. We have some random skeins that didn't sell that we're still, we love them, so we still have them. It's not the prettiest of the yarn baby, but and then before that is me making stuff back at the house because I couldn't open the shop yet. So, okay, I have to scroll forward and look for maybe our first knit night. There it is. There it is. I think I had other pictures from this, but I only shared this one. You are not in this one, Liz, so you may or may not have been there. It's our first Friday knit night. You might have been.
It was bingo.
Oh, I hadn't fully sucked her in yet.
Well, one Friday night a month.
Look how young and cute bingo. I was then. Sorry. What?
One Friday night a month, I went to bingo with the little olds.
That's right.
And my mother-in-law.
I hadn't dragged her away from bingo yet. Shout out to Carol and Amy D. They're both in this picture. And my friend Nancy from church is in this picture. That's back when I wore other. Oh, wait. Here's the Tuesday. You're not in this picture either, but the lady I talked about before, whose husband was like, she's going to shop there, is in this picture. We roped her in not long after. It's all good. We've got Amy D is in there, and Ree is in there, and Sarah Beth. And I'm trying to remember who was in the middle between the two. I don't know if she hung out with it. It might have been Nancy, but I don't think so. Anyway, we should wrap up.
She looks
kind of soon. She is familiar, and I just names right now.
It's so sad looking at this picture that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people sitting around the table.
I know,
because it eventually got 12 to 22 people sitting.
Well, there were a few people at that knit night who didn't want to be in the picture, which is fine. I always say, hey, I'm going to put this on social media, so stay in the picture if you want. But that was the first Friday and the first Tuesday. And like when I did the Friday and said, what if we had another day of the week and we picked Tuesday? And that's made history ever since. We've had both days. And then there's me making Sunny and Big Chippy. And
I remember you working on Sunny.
Mm-hmm. I could find a headless Sunny in here if you want. Yeah, look, there's headless Sunny. He's our dragon who's in the front window. You can go on Instagram. You can see him. He's shrunk a little. He's had osteoporosis since then and shrunk a little bit. But anyway, I digress a whole lot. Ooh, I'm up to a whole 18% now with your brick. Thank you. So I need a new phone. My iPhone 7 is on its last legs. So let's wrap up. I mean, we just jived, and I feel like the brand of the shop is as much both of us as it is me. I mean, I'm kind of in charge, but we're both a part of it at this point.
I'm the minion. Like
she doesn't want responsibility, but she is part of my brand now. So, you may or may not want to be okay with that, but it kind of is. I don't know. Yeah. So, and you know, people who watch my tips and tricks at home, I don't really banter that much, but it's not as entertaining when it's just me. So let's be honest, even though I do like 90% of the talking half the time, you know, do the math on that, 90% half the time, whatever. It would be a lot more boring if it was just me. So everyone's like, what's Liz working on? And other things. Okay. I am babbling.
I don't work well just vamping, so she can't knit or crochet during this because
I do the vamping.
Then her hands can't move and talk.
So Liz, what are your plans for the weekend? Because we should wrap up.
My plans for the weekend, I would like to finish my big this. Or at least get it to a point where it's easy to finish next week and I can get it blocked.
I think that's the wonderful thing about crochet. And you're only going to be distracted by the other iterations of that same thing, probably. Or the papillon, right? Are you going to work on the papillon?
Yeah, I've got papillons to work on.
Papillons. I only have one. But that should be on my list for the weekend.
I should finish something.
I was thinking about that on the drive-in, and I am ashamed to say papillon was not even on my list. But we should be finishing our papillons. We should.
I can work on a papillon and still give her plenty of headroom with the challenge.
It's a friendly rivalry. It's not a challenge or a race.
Unless if she's not winning, then it's oh my gosh.
Okay, so on my list, I'm trying to finish, like you're saying, you're going to finish something. I'm trying to finish one thing a weekend. And I've started 2 cowls, and I really think I could finish both of them. One or both of them, depending on how many other things I work on. This is the current state of my stellatum cowl. I am halfway through the repeats. Let's see, 1, 2. I think I'm halfway through the repeats. You're supposed to do it 6 times. I think I've done it 3. So this can very easily get finished this weekend, I think. And it's very pretty, and I'm very happy with it. And I'm pretty sure I will only need 1 skein each of the Davila to do it. But I like the colors, and the colors don't show up well on camera. That's the problem. The grape color, it's the Concord. It's a lovely, luscious purple. It's not really showing up, but this was my morning meditation this morning. The Ashes and Soot. I'm doing the Winter Haze collection by Melanie Rice. And this is another cowl because I know I can get it done quickly. And I'm hoping to finish this weekend. And then I will start on the shawls that go with the series. And I just noticed that Melanie Rice has published 3 patterns in February. And so I don't know if she's calling them a collection yet, but they look really cute as well. And Liz was like, maybe you can rotate between them or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I said mix and match.
Mix and match.
Because
I might just have to make everything.
Well, if you do the 2 cowls from the January and February.
Mm-hmm. And the other triangle cowl from February is gorgeous. Yes.
And then there is a color work in February.
Yes. And I do like color work, and I haven't done one in a while.
And then do a shawl from January, and you've done 2 from each instead of,
There's a shawl from January that is calling my name, but I think I'm going to try to finish one of the current shawls before I start. Every time I finish something, I'm adding something new to the rotation, but I feel like I got a lot of sweaters on needles right now, and I got a lot of shawls on needles. And I feel like I should finish a shawl before I start another. But we'll see. Y'all can let me know what you think. Do you want to see something finished, or do you want to see more fun starts to things that you might want to make? Which one's better?
Very, very careful. She'll wind up with as many needles projects as I've got.
Yeah. I'll have no inventory of needles because they'll all be in my projects. That would be bad. And then they don't go back. And what am I going to do? Right? Buy more. Okay. So these 2 shawls are on the docket. Shawls. Those are cows. I'm talking over myself. This is not a migraine because I noticed. These 2 cowls I'm definitely going to do this weekend and hopefully finish. I'm making some progress on my Stay Out of the Forest shawl, which I left at home. But those rows are incredibly long. I really love that one, and the yarn is so soft. Like, this is merino, not superwash. So it's okay. It's not actually as soft as you might think, but it's wonderful colors, and it's probably going to be nice when it's done and blocked. This is superwash merino, so it's lovely and soft and fun to knit with. I mean, they're both fun to knit with. The Stay Out of the Forest is alpaca, merino, and silk, and absolutely luscious to knit with. So I really want to finish that one up before the yarn from Spunky Sheep comes in, which could be any week now. We're not super rushed on that. When it comes, we'll let you know. And there are several other shawls and sweaters. My other thing for the weekend, again, this is probably not all going to get done. You're going to have to tune in Tuesday to find out. I have the sleeve holders for this sweater are now available to go on another sweater. So I'd love to get one of my sweaters to the sleeve separation point. I have one the striped sweater already has the sleeves separated. I have one of my sweaters I just started doesn't need sleeve separation. It's made in a different way, so I'm not worried about that one. So the candidates for that, I've got my Golden Fern. I have the Ready Set Raglan. And I feel like there's another one.
Golden Fern would be really pretty because
to get onto sleeve separation and get down to the color work at the bottom. That's probably the one I'll focus on next.
Because if you can just slog through
my favorite flannel, which is one of my more recent starts. So I really should be focusing on one of the ones that's been hanging out on needles for a while to get to the sleeve separation. I think you have a good point. The Golden Fern is thinner yarn, so it takes longer to get to the sleeve separation, but I'm really close. I think I'm really close. So that's your cliffhanger for the weekend.
Dun, dun, dun.
You might see some evidence of what's happening on Friday knit night if you choose to come. So tomorrow night from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Zoom, you can use the shop phone number 828-877-3550 to get into Zoom. Come see what I'm working on, what Liz is working on.
And I could scrap all this and spin. I don't know.
She could. That's the fun of fiber arts. And if you choose to engage in multiple projects, you got choices. Might take a while for them to get done, but you got choices. So so that's Friday. And then we don't have anything Saturday because the next Saturday virtual sit and stitch on Zoom and Facebook Live is going to be March 20th. But next week we'll be back on Tuesday. And if you would like to ask us a question and have us, I say wax poetic, but really just ramble for a good hour or so, you should write us at Dear Becky and Lizzy, Sun Dragon Art and Fiber,
35 South Broad Street, Brevard, North Carolina, 28712.
Yes, or email Liz at sundragonartandfiber.com. Because if you email Rebecca at sundragonartandfiber.com, that will get lost. I will answer it if it's a question about merchandise. If it should come to me. If it's a Dear Becky and Lizzy, it should go to Liz.
I try and flag them so I can find.
I flag everything that comes that's from a customer, but then it gets lost.
You have all the flags.
I get a lot of emails.
Just the flags. Oh.
Yeah, I get a lot of emails, and I try to get back to them all as soon as I can. But if it's a Dear Becky and Lizzy question, it might get lost. Send it to her. Thank you. Anyway, it's after 10, just after. So we should open up the shop to the Viking hordes, which aren't a lot right now because it's February. But if Viking hordes, we need to keep outside.
We never know what Vikings.
We don't know. There are appointments for today. If this video goes live early enough and you want to come inside, go make an appointment. We will love you for it. All right. Stay safe. We miss you. We hope to meet all of our community someday. But please comment. Please subscribe. Remember, if we get to 500 subscribers, and we are getting a lot closer, if we get to 500, we will have a sale, and then we'll set another benchmark for another sale. So subscribe so you can know when things are happening, and
there's a ding a bell so you get alerts.
Help us get to sales, and ding the bell for alerts. If you watch YouTube at all, you might know all this. So get to it. All right. Have a good rest of your day and a good weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye.